这个故事如果你会听会读，那么你的英语水平足够和美国人交流了。下面我们一起开始跟读吧。
When I first started learning English, I had a very strange problem. I could read many words. I could understand simple stories. I could even write short messages. But when it was time to speak, my mouth felt heavy. My mind became empty. I knew the words were inside me, but I could not pull them out. I was afraid of sounding silly. I was afraid of making mistakes. Most of all, I was afraid that other people would judge me. This fear is very common, especially for adult learners. As adults, we want to look capable. We want to look smart. In our daily lives, we can express ideas clearly in our first language. We can make jokes, explain problems, and give opinions. But in English, we might sound like a much younger version of ourselves. That gap can feel painful. It can make us hesitate before we speak. I remember one afternoon at work. A new co-worker visited our office from another country. Everyone knew they spoke English well, and they were friendly. During lunch, people started talking in English so the visitor could join. I sat there with my food and smiled, but I said almost nothing. I kept thinking, if I speak, I will make a mistake. If I make a mistake, everyone will notice. My heart beat faster, and my face felt warm. Even though no one was watching me closely, I felt like a spotlight was on my chair. Later that day, I felt disappointed in myself. I thought, I wasted a chance. I could have practiced. I could have learned something. But then I also realized something important. Fear is not a sign that you are weak. Fear is a sign that you care. You care about communicating well. You care about how you appear. That is normal. The real problem is not the fear itself. The problem is letting fear decide your actions. The first step to overcoming the fear of speaking English is to understand what fear is trying to protect. Fear often tries to protect our self-image. It says, stay quiet and you will stay safe. But silence has a cost. When we stay quiet, we lose practice. We lose connection with others. We lose the chance to grow. Over time, the fear becomes stronger because we never prove to ourselves that we can speak. So how do we break this cycle? We start small. We choose situations where the risk feels lower. We build confidence through simple, repeatable steps. Think of it like learning to swim. You do not start by jumping into deep water. You start by standing in shallow water. You learn how to breathe. You learn how to float. Step by step, your body learns that the water is not dangerous. Speaking English is similar. Your brain needs many small, safe experiences. One helpful idea is to change the goal. Many learners think the goal is to speak perfect English, but perfection is not the real goal. Communication is the goal. If the other person understands you, you succeeded. Even if you used simple words, even if your grammar was not perfect, even if you paused to think. In real life, people pause all the time. People search for words even in their first language. I learned this lesson from a small event at a coffee shop. I was ordering a drink and I wanted to ask for less ice. I practiced the sentence in my head, "Could I have less ice, please?" But when I reached the counter, I suddenly forgot the word less. I froze. Then I said, "No, many ice, please." It was not correct English. It sounded awkward. But the barista understood me right away. They smiled and said, "Sure, no problem." I took my drink and walked away, and I started laughing quietly. In that moment, I saw that mistakes are not the disaster I imagined. Another important step is to make speaking a daily habit, even when you are alone. Some people believe you can only practice speaking with other people. That is not true. You can train your mouth and your ears by speaking to yourself. For example, you can describe what you are doing. I am washing the dishes. The water is warm. I need to clean this plate. It may feel strange at first, but it works. It helps your brain learn how to create sentences without pressure. You can also read out loud. Choose a short article or a simple story and read it slowly. Pay attention to rhythm and clear sounds. If you do this for 10 minutes a day, you will notice a change. Your mouth will feel more comfortable, your speed will improve, and when you talk to other people, the words will come out more easily. Still, at some point you need real conversation. Real conversation is messy. People interrupt, people speak fast, people use slang. That can be scary. The key is to choose the right partner and the right setting. If you have a friend who is patient, ask them to practice with you. Tell them what you need. You can say, I want to practice speaking. Please speak slowly and please do not correct every small mistake. If you do not understand, ask me again. A good partner will respect that. If you do not have a partner, you can find practice in small moments. For example, you can greet a neighbor in English. You can ask a simple question at a store. You can join an online language exchange. The point is not to have a long, perfect conversation. The point is to create many small experiences where you speak and survive. One thing that makes fear stronger is the idea that everyone is listening. In reality, most people are busy thinking about themselves. They are not waiting to judge your grammar. They care about the message. Also, many people respect someone who is learning a language. They know it is hard. If you speak with effort, you often look brave, not foolish. To make this more real, think about how you feel when someone speaks your language with an accent. Do you feel angry? Do you want to laugh? Most likely, you feel patient. You might even feel happy that they are trying. Give yourself the same kindness. Another helpful skill is to learn a few rescue phrases. These are simple sentences you can use when you get stuck. For example, let me think. How do you say, I mean, can you say that again, please? These phrases are like a small bridge. They keep the conversation going while your brain searches for words. When you know you have these tools, you feel safer. You can also prepare for common situations. Adults often talk about the same topics again and again: work, family, health, food, travel, hobbies. Choose one topic each week and practice talking about it. Write down a few key sentences, then say them out loud. After a while, you will have a set of ready stories in your mind. That makes speaking easier. At one point, I decided to try this at work. I picked a simple topic: my weekend. On Monday morning, people often ask, how was your weekend? I used to answer with one word, good. But that did not help me practice. So I prepared 3 simple sentences. I stayed home, I cooked a new dish, I watched a movie. On Monday, when someone asked, I took a breath and said those sentences. My voice was a little shaky, but it worked. The other person smiled and asked, what dish did you cook? That question gave me more practice. That is how confidence grows. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It is a result of action. When you take a small risk and nothing terrible happens, your brain learns. The fear becomes smaller. The next time, you can take a slightly bigger risk. It is also important to accept that progress is not straight. Some days, you will speak well. Other days, you will feel nervous again. That does not mean you failed. It means you are human. Learning is like walking up a hill with loose stones. Sometimes you slip, but you still move upward. One of the biggest reasons adults fear speaking is because they connect mistakes with shame. In school, mistakes might feel like a bad grade. In public, mistakes might feel like being laughed at. But in language learning, mistakes are information. They show you what you need to learn next. If you never make mistakes, you might not be trying anything new. There is a simple exercise that can change how you see mistakes. After a conversation, write down one thing that was hard. Maybe you forgot a word. Maybe you used the wrong tense. Then choose one small fix. Learn that word. Practice that sentence. Next time, you will do a little better. This turns mistakes into a plan, not a punishment. It also helps to focus on your strengths. Maybe your pronunciation is clear. Maybe your listening is good. Maybe you can explain ideas with simple words. These are real skills. They count. When you only look at what is missing, you feel weak. When you notice what you can already do, you feel stronger. Some learners feel afraid because they compare themselves to others. They hear someone speak fast and think, "I will never be like that." But every speaker has a different journey. Some people started young. Some people have more time. Some people are naturally outgoing. Your job is not to copy them. Your job is to become a better version of yourself. Another reason fear appears is that speaking uses a lot of brain power. When you speak, you must choose words, build sentences, and watch the other person's face. That is a lot. So of course, you feel tired. Of course, you feel slow. The solution is practice and patience. With more practice, the process becomes more automatic. If you want a simple plan, imagine 3 levels of practice. Level 1 is solo speaking, talking to yourself, reading out loud, shadowing short audio. Level 2 is low-pressure speaking, short greetings, small questions, short voice messages. Level 3 is real conversation, longer talks, meetings, group discussions. You do not need to rush to level 3. Spend time at each level. Build your foundation. I also want to share something about accent. Many adults worry about their accent. They want to sound like a native speaker. But you do not need a perfect accent to communicate. A clear accent is enough. In fact, an accent can be part of your identity. The goal is clarity, not perfection. If people understand you, you are doing well. One evening, I joined a small online group where people practiced English. At first, I was very nervous. I turned on my microphone and my hands felt cold. When it was my turn to speak, I said a few sentences and made a mistake. I said, "he go," instead of "he goes." I noticed it right away and felt embarrassed. But then another person in the group made a mistake too, and another. No one laughed. People just kept talking. That was a powerful lesson. In a good learning space, mistakes are normal. If you do not feel safe in a group, it is okay to leave and find another one. Your environment matters. Choose a place that supports learning. A supportive teacher, a kind friend, or a patient group can make a big difference. There is also a physical side to fear. When you feel nervous, your body reacts. Your breathing changes. Your throat feels tight. Your voice becomes smaller. One small trick is to slow down your breathing before you speak. Take one deep breath in, then breathe out slowly. This tells your body, "I am safe." It makes your voice steadier. You can also give yourself permission to speak slowly. Many learners think they must speak fast to sound fluent. But speaking slowly and clearly is better than speaking fast and unclear. If you need time, you can pause. A pause is not failure. A pause is thinking. Over time, you will find that the fear changes. It may not disappear completely, but it becomes less powerful. You start to think, I can handle this. You start to notice small wins, ordering food in English, making a joke, joining a meeting, telling a story. Each win is like a brick. Together, they build a strong wall of confidence. One day, I had another lunch with co-workers and a visitor. This time, I decided to speak at least once. I listened carefully, and when I had a chance, I said a simple sentence about a project I was working on. My voice was not perfect. My grammar was not perfect. But people understood me. Someone asked a follow-up question, and I answered. The conversation moved on. Nothing bad happened. After lunch, I felt lighter. I felt like I had opened a door that was always there. That is the truth about speaking fear. The door is not locked. It just feels heavy. Every time you push it a little, it becomes easier to open. Your English does not need to be perfect to be real. Your voice does not need to be perfect to be heard. If you keep practicing, step by step, your fear will shrink and your confidence will grow.